The courtroom of Judge Judy Justice was a place where the tangled threads of human lives were straightened out with the sharp edge of common sense and the firm hand of the law. On this particular day, the air was thick with the remnants of a broken relationship and the silent pleas of confused feline. The bailiff called the court to order, and everyone rose as the judge took her seat. Case number 3023, Swarn v. Mack, was officially underway. DeJuan Swarn stood on one side, a man seeking the return of $3,000 he claimed had been stolen from his digital wallet. On the other side stood Malina Mack, his former girlfriend of over 3 years, who not only denied the theft but had brought a counterclaim for veterinary bills. She alleged that DeJuan had caused a serious injury to her cat, a creature much loved by her and her 2 daughters. Judge Justice looked at them, her gaze piercing to the layers of their shared history. They had lived together for more than 3 years in Malina's apartment, a life that had finally unraveled in March of the year 2023. The tension was palpable as the judge began to unravel the mystery of the missing money. DeJuan explained that around March 6th, he had reached out to Malina via Facebook message because he did not have a phone of his own at the time. He had been using a phone provided by Malina, and that device held all his financial information, including his cash application. Even though they had broken up a week prior, DeJuan needed to know his balance so he could afford gas for his car and get to work. Malina had initially claimed she could not access the account without a confirmation code. In a moment of misplaced trust, DeJuan provided her with that code on March 6th. By March 9th, $3,000 had vanished from the account in a single, even transaction. The judge leaned forward, her interest piqued by the name of the recipient, Janae Horns. It turned out that Janae was a longtime friend of Malina, someone she had known for 4 or 5 years. Although Malina tried to distance herself from the transaction, the judge saw through the fog. If it walks like a duck and quacks like a duck, she reminded the court, it is a duck. The coincidence of $3,000 moving from an ex-boyfriend's account to a close friend's account was too great to ignore. While the financial dispute simmered, the court turned its attention to the matter of the cat. This was where the heart of the emotional conflict lay. DeJuan did not deny that something had happened, but he insisted it was a genuine accident. He recounted a frantic afternoon in late February when he was alone in the apartment. He had been expecting an important Zoom meeting for work and was in the shower when he heard his phone ring. In his haste, he jumped out of the shower, dripping wet, and ran toward the room next to the bathroom. The floor was slick, and as he turned the corner, his feet went out from under him. He fell heavily, his knee hitting the floor first, followed by his back. In that chaotic moment of slipping and falling, he had unknowingly landed on the cat that had been sitting right outside the door. "I would not beat a cat," DeJuan said with sincere emotion. "I would not hit the cat. I know how much your daughters love that animal." He described how he only realized something was wrong later, when he saw blood in the cat's eye as it sat on the couch. He had immediately notified Malina, though at the time, he was not entirely sure what occurred in the blur of his fall. Malina presented the veterinary bills, which totaled less than the $500 DeJuan had already sent her on March 8th. He had paid her because he felt responsible for the accident and wanted to make things right. Despite their crumbling relationship, the judge noted that the $500 more than covered the medical expenses for the cat. After weighing the evidence, Judge Justice saw the truth behind the deception. The $3,000 had been taken through Malina's access and sent her friend, likely as a way to hide the trail of the money. The judge ruled in favor of DeJuan Swarn for the full amount of $3,000. As the session for that case ended, DeJuan felt a sense of relief, while Malina remained defensive, insisting that the accident with the cat was more than it seemed. Yet, the evidence spoke for itself. The money had been taken, and the injury to the cat, while tragic, had been paid for. The courtroom then shifted to a different kind of dispute, one involving heavy machinery and a small dog. Christopher Brandenburg and Victoria McLaughlin were suing Carter Irwin Jr. for the return of a motorcycle, a 2001 Harley-Davidson Heritage. Carter, in turn, was countersuing for $10,000, claiming the plaintiffs had stolen his marijuana extract, known as Shatter, and a French bulldog. The case was a whirlwind of verbal agreements and unconventional payments. Christopher explained that they had originally made a deal for a different motorcycle, a Shovelhead, for $9,000. When Carter had no way to get home from Washington to Oregon, Christopher had lent him his wife's van and later, the 2001 Harley. The situation became truly bizarre when the topic of payment arose. Carter claimed he had paid for the motorcycles not just with $1,500 in cash, but with a large quantity of shatter, a concentrated marijuana derivative. Judge Justice, ever the pragmatist, was not interested in pictures of jars or stories of verbal trades. She demanded proof of the cash withdrawal from a bank, which Carter could not provide. "I do not believe a word you are saying to me," the judge told Carter, her patience wearing thin. The final piece of the puzzle was the French bulldog. Victoria explained that the dog was part of the guardian home agreement. Carter was supposed to care for the dog, and in exchange for his service, he would eventually own the dog after Victoria had bred it one time. However, after learning that Carter did not meet the requirements of the agreement, such as having a fenced yard or owning his home, they took the dog back. The judge looked at the parties with a mixture of sadness and frustration. She saw that the poor animal was being treated more like a piece of property or a source of income than a living creature deserving of a stable home. She ruled that the motorcycle must be returned at a neutral location, specifically a police station, at high noon on the 15th of the month. As for the dog, it had already been moved to a different home, hopefully one far away from the chaos of these disputes. Judge Justice concluded the proceedings with a reflection on the lessons of the day. She spoke of the importance of honesty in relationships, the responsibility we have toward the animals in our care, and the necessity of keeping clear records in business. Though the cases were filled with conflict, the underlying message was one of accountability. The right thing happened in the end, as the truth was brought to light, and orders were made to restore what was lost. The courtroom cleared, leaving behind the echoes of voices that had sought justice. In the quiet that followed, the value of human decency and the fair treatment of all creatures, whether feline or canine, remained the most important lesson of all.